So thanks for joining us tonight. In celebration of Culture Days, we have taken our annual How-To Festival online for some special interactive sessions. Tonight, we welcome Chef Neil Noseworthy. Neil started his apprenticeship at the Four Seasons Hotel in Toronto at the crisp young age of 16. He finished culinary school at George Brown and went on to chef all the local concerts for 7 years until heading out on tour with the Rolling Stones and U2. He was Mick Jagger's personal chef for 6 weeks while the Stones were doing rehearsals in Toronto. Got to talk to you about that, Neil, later. Neil had a restaurant at Yonge and Bloor for 5 years. He was the on-site chef at the Scarborough Pan Am Swiss swim facility, serving 40,000 meals over 28 days. Neil, with a small team, headed up the preparations to produce 30,000 meals for the Rogers Cup 2013 to 2017. He started Tasteworthy Cuisine in 2010 and is now available to cater any kind of event near you. Let's welcome Chef Neil. We're going to take questions and comments after each session, each thing that Neil's going to prepare. So if you could, if you need to get a hold of me or Neil, just put something in the chat and we'll go from there. Okay, so enjoy. Take it away, Neil.
Hello, everybody. I hope all is well and you guys are ready to eat, drink, and be merry. I've put together a couple of little appetizers for us to do that are really easy for you to make, and something that's good for your kids and everybody can enjoy. Anyway, the first thing I did was the Yorkshire Puddings. I've already made my batter, which is right here. The idea of a Yorkshire pudding is to make it in advance. The best is if you use homo or 2% milk. It's better to have a high fat milk because it'll turn out a little bit better and it's richer. We can go through it if you guys want to start and crack your eggs and get the whole process going. And what we want to do is get our Yorkshire pudding batter made first so we can let it rest while we make all the other items. I'm going to go through this, and at the end of each item, we can talk about it. If you guys have any questions or miss anything or I go too fast, then ask questions at the end, all right? You can put your hand up, and then Jane will put you guys in the queue to ask questions, okay? So I'm going to start by Yorkshire pudding. You guys can come along with. Hopefully you guys have all your equipment together. I have all my eggs, the milk, the salt, and all the ingredients that I need to make it right here. You should have a recipe that you can follow. I've written all the recipes, and I do hope that you guys have them all and you've been given the recipes. Yeah, the first one was the beach pebble, the Canadian cheese stream, and the last one is the Yorkshire pudding. But let's start with the last one. Go to the end and then work our way back, okay? So the last one is the Yorkshire pudding, and you're going to the recipe. All right? And it should be right here. And it has the 4 eggs, the cup of flour. You can put a couple an extra tablespoon in with it. And then we'll add the milk and some salt. And then just let it rest, okay? So I've done that. I've got 1 egg in here. Put your 4 eggs in the bowl now. Get this started, all right? There's 2, 3. I have the luxury of being in a large kitchen, so things are a little bit handier here. I just have to shoot for my garbage pail. I shall bring it a little closer so I don't miss. All right, so you got your eggs in. And then you have a measuring cup in your milk. Measure 3/4 of a cup. Milk. Cup of flour. I've already measured it. It's a cup of flour plus a tablespoon extra. And that should be just kind of about right for 3/4 of a cup of milk. Whisk the eggs first. Get your eggs all beaten. You can use skim milk. You can use 1%, 2%, or 3%. It's just 3% is better than 2, and 2 is better than 1 as far as the fluffiness of the mixture will go. I'm going to put in my flour now into the egg. Whip that in, which I had pre-measured. The milk, which I already measured. I'm going to whisk that in now. 3/4 cup of milk. And then I have some of the water. Cal, could you do me a favor, grab me I just need like a tablespoon of water. Carefully, we'll whisk in the milk into the flour. Careful not to spill it everywhere. There we go. So you should have a nice batter, just like that, everybody. Yeah, my trusty assistant, Dana. Throw some water in. Okay, then our Yorkshire pudding batter we can let rest. And if you have your English muffin tins that we're going to cook the Yorkshire batter in, put it into the oven at 400 degrees and start heating it up. And then it'll be hot when we're ready to put the batter into it, okay? Anybody have any questions? Are there any questions of Yorkshire pudding?
I don't think there's any questions yet.
No?
So
That's
keep
pretty
going.
straightforward.
Keep going.
All righty. Okay, so that's done. And now I'm going to just put on some gloves. You don't have to have gloves on. We're going to do the beach pebbles now. If you have the pistachios, of course, if you don't want pistachios or if you have peanuts, you could use peanuts or you could use any other nut that you prefer other than pistachios. I just sort of picked pistachios, and that's kind of the way I've made this hors d'oeuvre. I have my grapes already cleaned and dried. So you take them off the stem, give them a little rinse, and just pat them dry with a paper towel. That way the cheese is going to stick to the grape when we go to roll it. I have some chevre. You can use cream cheese too. It doesn't have to be chevre cheese. If you're making this for children, you probably want to use cream cheese rather than chevre. So you take a little piece, put it around the grape, just like that. Sort of cover it up completely and just roll it like a meatball. And that's the grape done. Your pistachios, you can roast them in the oven just for like 5 to 7 minutes. If you have them roasted, that's fine. You can chop them down with a knife. If you have a food processor, it's easier to chop them in a food processor and just give it a little pulse. You don't want it to get too fine. Mine are slightly chunky, but not completely. Here, I have some already done. Is it done? Where's the done ones? Right there. Right here. Here's what we're making. This is a beach pebble. It has the cheese, and then I've rolled it in the nuts. So if you don't have your nuts ready, you can roast them for a little bit and then catch them up, and then we'll chop them to make one of these. If the oven can be at 350, and then once the pan, you put it back up to 400 degrees for the pan that's in the oven for the Yorkshire pudding. After we finish your nuts, if you got to roast them. And you don't have to toast them either. If you want, they can just be chopped with a nut on your cutting board. I'm going to roll a few more grapes with some cheese. If you guys want to try that, get your grapes ready and roll them with the cheese. Jane, maybe if some of the you turn some of the videos on so I can see if people are following along, and I'll see if anybody's making any mistakes because I can't really see right now. So we're gonna make our grapes like this. And you guys have getting your pistachios ready, either in the oven or chopping them. If you have somebody helping you, that's even better. If there's two of you, one can do the grapes, well, somebody else has the nuts prepared. Gotta have your nuts prepared, you know. There. So I'm just gonna make a few of them for now. Of course, you can make as many as you like. These are a great snack for the kids. So it's a great, either with cream cheese or the chevre cheese if your kids love them. My kids loved it with chevre, so but I was lucky. If you give this to your kids when they're young enough, then they'll love it forever. And you'll make chevre cheese lovers out of them. Yeah, so I put my grain into the nut, and then I rolled it, and now the nut sticks to the cream cheese or the chevre cheese, whatever it is you were using. Okay, so I'm going to finish coating all my nuts in my little bowl or whatever you got a little container of. There we go. So I've rolled mine. This is good. This is a good favorite. We used to make these out on the road for the Stones. We did hors d'oeuvres before every dinner, so this was one of the hors d'oeuvres that everybody kind of loved while they're on the road. It was easy for us to do, and they loved having it. And then we did it probably like 10 or 12 times on the road. Tried to vary it every day, but this was a good staple. These are the ones that I made earlier. So everybody give it a taste test now. Awesome. Any questions?
Neil, there's one question for later with the Yorkshires, so we'll hold on to that one for right now.
Our batter should be ready for the Yorkshire pudding. It's resting. We'll let it keep resting. And then I'm going to make the Canadian cheese stream. This is a really easy one that you can do. And this is, again, it's good for your kids. I have clients that I still make this for today that won't have a party without this. So I've got just sliced cheddar cheese. In this case, I have Texas toast. I got a baking sheet here that I pre-put some parchment paper on. And the parchment paper really just helps with the cleanup, so you don't end up with a mess. If the cheese is to drip over onto the pan, it won't burn. This way you just take a piece of parchment paper off and throw it out. I really like it just for the cleanup. Ease. And a little spillage here I'll clean up.
Neil, we do have a question about the beach pebbles. How far in advance can you make the beach pebbles?
Well, you can make them a couple days in advance. You can go 3, but the nuts start to get a little soggy. If you've toasted your nuts, the pistachios really well, and they're crisp, you can 3 days is fine. It depends how well you've toasted them. And you don't want to do it at too high a temperature because you'll burn them, but if you do it at 350, or you can do it at 3 1/4 for a little bit longer, and they'll dry out a little better. But they keep really well. I've done them for parties and had extra and eaten them even up to a week after. And they still tasted fine to me. So yeah, you can make it if your kids, if this is something you find your kids love the beach pebbles, you can make enough for the whole week. My kids used to love them and would serve them at parties. They wanted to bring them to school with them, but they couldn't because of the nut allergy. Okay, so I'm taking sliced cheddar and just put it on toast. And then, and that is quite it. You can put bacon bits on it if you want. I put that on your menu. You can put chunky bacon bits or chopped. You can put pepperoni. You can put Genoa salami on it. There's lots of options, whatever it is you really like. Any cured meats, or you can put ham on it. You can put female bacon on it. I just did this plain with cheddar. And I'm going to get them thrown in the oven. Kelsey, get that in the oven for me, bud?
Neil, someone was asking with the beach pebbles, $3.50 for how long?
Beach pebbles you don't cook. Oh, the nuts, the pistachios.
Nuts, yeah.
About 7 minutes. Yeah, they should take 7 minutes. And then some ovens are slower than others. I don't know, your oven, sometimes the hot is hotter, or it's best to cook in the middle because it's more of an even temp. And if you do a very big pan, it can kind of burn sometimes around the outside before the inside cooks. So it's best not to overload a pan. If you don't want some of them to be burnt, but you're going to grind them all up so that they'll kind of mix. If you have an oven that tends to burn on the edges, you can just take those off or keep them towards the inside so you don't have that problem. I like to toast them, and then when I put them in a food processor and just a pulse like 2 or 3 times, and just to crumble them down. You still want them to be a bit chunky, and you don't want to turn it on because it'll puree it into just obliterate it and some powder. And you need a little bit of crunchiness still. So you get the nuttiness and the crunchiness of the nut. You get the creamy and saltiness from the cheese and the sweetness from the grape. So you get sweet, salty, creamy, and nutty and crunchy all in one bite. It's awesome. If you guys have finished them, give them a taste. Has everybody finished them? Is anybody still making their beach pebbles? We used to go on our tour with the Rolling Stones, and these we did. We sent to a party that the Rolling Stones had hosted for us at the Fillmore's in San Francisco. We drove us all there in limos and red carpet with stanchions and complete with screaming girls on all sides as you walked in, just because they wanted you to pick them to let them into the party, because everybody was allowed to bring a guest. So when the party went on all night, I got up on stage. It was like Sunday night jam with the Rolling Stones. Anybody that played an instrument or could sing was able to get up on stage and sing with the Rolling Stones. So I went to my old jam song, which is Play That Funky Music, White Boy, by Wild Cherry. I got up on stage and was singing it. And then next thing you know, I looked back and Mick Jagger got up and was joining me singing that Play That Funky Music, White. So anyway, it kind of messed me up a little bit and made me stutter a little bit. I was singing, but that was kind of a great experience too. And that was kind of the neat thing about being on the Stones, getting those kind of experiences that you don't normally get on a day job in the library, right, Jane? Yeah. Anyway, everybody finish your beach pebbles? Is there anybody else? You want me to continue?
I think we should continue. No one's commenting, so I guess they're either done or they're just watching you with excitement.
Cheese dreams. If you guys have made your cheese dreams and they're in the oven, just melting the cheese, they should almost be ready soon. When they're ready, we'll pull them out, and I'll show you a good way to serve it to the kids, because they can cut the crust off so that the kids can enjoy it. I'll just get my knife here. Well, that's a knife. Are they melted? Yeah? That's good enough. You get the idea. Thank you, Kathy. So here's our cheese dreams. I mean, it's really quite that simple. This is an old staple. I used to have it when I was a kid, and I still do it. So for some of the rich and famous parties, people love these. Of course, it's not just regular bread. No, I make the bread. We make little mini loaves that cut little mini slices, which are kind of cute. This one is just with cheddar. I put on their menus too that you could use imperial cheese mixed with cream cheese. The cream cheese is just added to the imperial so you can spread it. The imperial cheese is a little bit stronger and richer. This might be better for kids. The imperial way is kind of better for adults because it's a much sharper, more pungent taste. So anyway, I've cut the crust off. As the kids are age a bit, you don't have to cut the crust off anymore. they're not so picky anymore. Hopefully, if you haven't spoiled them, then so you end up just with just a piece of cheese on toast. My kids, I used to cut it in 4 pieces. The kids, so they end up. You can serve that as a little hors d'oeuvre for people at a little cocktail bar. Something really simple and something that everybody loves. You can put sriracha aioli or sriracha ketchup, or just serve them like that. You can have a dip, sort of like a grilled cheese, an open-faced grilled cheese. Anyway, that's the Canadian cheese dream. Bon appetit. Who would have thought rock stars could eat something that simple? Anyway, that's the cheese dream, so we can move on to the Yorkshire pudding now. Those want to grab into the Yorkshire. And we'll get the trays. If you have them in the oven, we'll get your pans out for the Yorkshire pudding.
So Neil, the question that came in earlier was Kayla wants to ask you about the pan. She has one to show you on video. So Kayla, can you turn your camera on and?
Just do it for like 10 or 20 seconds. I did it too long before. Hi.
Can you see Kayla there with her pan?
Yeah, what a beautiful pan you have. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. That is a beauty pan. That's what you want to do. So that's a big one. That's large. So that's what you want. So look, I have the same size here. This is a big one, just like yours, but mine's silicone. But those are perfect. That's exactly what you need. Or you can do them small. My pans are hot. You got to heat them up in the oven before you put in your oil and stuff. So get it hot. Get it in the oven at 400 or 4 1/4.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Start heating them. Mine have been heated, and then I'm going to just put the oil in now. Kelsey's just melting. So I have shortening. The best thing is if you cook the prime rib and you take the fat drippings out of the pan and you take the fat from the prime rib, the drippings, thank you for that. And you put the drippings into the pan. You want almost like a tablespoon in each of the little cups. So I'm going to pour in, I'm going to eyeball, just cover the bottom with a tablespoon. So I'm going to do a few of them big, and I'll do a few of them small. The small ones will cook faster. Depending on how much they leaven is how much fat you had in your milk and the temperature of the mixture. If it didn't heat up or warm up very much, if you can make this batter the night before is ideal, but we didn't have that opportunity. So in that case, you'll get better leavening. If the pan is hot, so I'm going to put my oil in and I'm going to throw it back in the oven and let the oil heat up a little bit more. Okay, so get your oil into your Yorkshire pudding muffin tins, and then put it back in the oven, even at like 425 degrees, okay? I'm going to get this back in the oven, all right? I'll be right back. There, so I'm just going to heat that up a little bit more, and then wait for you guys to catch up. Get your pans hot. Everybody should have a hot pans and with the oil in it. I got mine back in the oven just to get the temperature up a little bit more on the oil. When you pour it in, it should bubble a bit. And then another trick is not to put too much batter in it and overfill it, because then they'll proof up. But they'll be a little bit dense in the middle. You'll get crisper ones if you put a little bit less, and they'll still puff up.
We have a question. Would butter in the pans work as well?
No, not really. If you put butter in, butter burns at a lower temperature, and it'll burn fast because you got it at 425 degrees, and you would taste the burntness in the butter. So you don't want to do that. Oil is better, so you could use shortening, the lard or canola oil or olive oil, anything but butter because of the burn factor. Alrighty. So I've used shortening, but yeah, any one of those is just fine. Canola oil works really well. All right, so Kelsey, let's get those pans back out, and then I'll fill them with the Yorkshire pudding, and then we're gonna throw them into the oven. I got my oven cranked up like 4 1/4. Oh, good and hot. When it's that hot though, you kind of gotta watch it so that they don't burn. Then again, it depends on your oven that you're using. Thank you. Jesse got mine here. I poured my mixture into a cup. This is one that I made earlier. The one I just made is still sitting, but this one had a chance to warm up a little bit more. I didn't get a chance to make it last night myself.
There's a question about the recipe says 450. Is 425 correct or 450?
Well, hot is good, but again, I find at 450, it'll burn, and you really got to watch it at 450 that it doesn't go too far and burn too easily on you. I find at 425, you have a better chance of cooking it properly without burning it. But 450, if you want to go fast, and again, it depends on the oven. If you don't have convection, 450 is okay. If you have convection on your oven, you can do it at 425. There. So I've only filled them up about 1/3 of the way. Some of them went about half of the way almost. I've also seen one time we were on the Rolling Stones in Boston, and one of the guys helped make the shepherd's pie for us. He put too much oil and filled them up too much, and then as they proofed up, the oil spilt over the side. I have a baking sheet lined underneath here, so it's good to have them on a baking sheet, because if you do put too much oil, it could spill over the edges, and if you have a gas oven, you could end up with a fire. And that's what happened to us at the Rolling Stones in Boston. The guy that put too much oil and too much batter in it, and they all spilled over the sides, and the oven caught on fire. Luckily, this oven was in an outside. We had auxiliary ovens that we brought in, because it was about 700 people at the first show in Boston. There we go, Kelsey. Kelsey's going to throw that in the oven for me, and we'll get that going. Yeah, we did the first show in Boston on, I think it was the Bigger Bang, or no. That was the, the Bigger Bang tour. 350, we ordered lobsters for that dinner. We ended up feeding 700 people. We had to keep ordering more. It was the first show. We didn't know how many people were going to be there, and so we didn't have a benchmark. After that, our benchmark was 700 people. We could potentially get. That never really happened again, but we ordered food for 700 because if they showed up, we had to feed them. I mean, the Rolling Stones in Seattle invited Bill Gates and all the Microsoft management team. And there was like 65 of them that came, and I mean, they used to give free computers to the Stones, so they got good service from the Stones too.
Okay, Wendy's asking, bake for how long?
They're gonna be, again, so if you have the small ones, they're only like 12 to 15 minutes, and if you did bigger ones, they would take more like 20 minutes. So you should set your timer. If the small one, set it for 10 minutes and then check them, because again, it depends on the oven and if you use convection or not. And so check it out after 10 minutes for the small ones and about 15 minutes for the larger ones. I've got both sizes on there, so I'm gonna have to pull it out and at 10 and then the bigger ones, take the little ones out and put the bigger ones back in to finish.
We have another question about the cheese dreams. If one makes the cheese dreams with a grain bread and a mixture of imperial and cream cheese after baking, and one wishes to serve the next day, how do you reheat? A microwave or low oven heat?
A lower oven heat is better because the microwave will make it a little bit soggy, and you can make it too hot and the cheese will melt. Or it's better to heat it in the oven. And you can, if you're standing there and watching it and you're in a hurry, you can put it under a broiler, turn the broiler on, but it goes from not cooked to overcooked. And so once it starts to go, it only is about a 20-second window. So you gotta kind of be watching it if you put it on broil, or you can just put it on a high heat, and you can be within a couple of minutes, and it'll just be a little bit more well done, and then or a little bit less done, but not as crucial as it is on broil. On broil, it's good if you put the bacon on it and stuff too, and it'll crisp up the bacon on it at the same time. It's good, but you gotta be careful. And I wouldn't recommend it for kids, because if they get watching TV and forget about it, then they catch on fire. And if the kids will be having a fire in your oven if they forget about it. And it's why it's good, I think, to do it at a lower temperature, because you can teach your kids to do this. They can come home and make it themselves after school, I would say from about 10 years old, or even 8, depending on the kid. 8, 10, 12, some that age, depending on their capabilities, and they can feed themselves. This is something that they'll love, and it's easy for them to make. Excuse me. It's hard to make a mistake. So I started, that's was how I started as a kid, and then I became the guru of grilled cheese and started putting tomato, pickles, and sauteed onions, and then going to grilled cheese with brie and caviar, and it just kept going on and on as a child, and coming home from school and making my own grilled cheese or cheese streams until I got past that. Any other questions?
Somebody is asking, how do you spell the cheese that you used for the beech nuts?
Oh, chevre is goat's milk cheese. Chevre is how you say it in French. I think it sounds better as chevre, but it's chevre in French. That's just the French pronunciation. But it's goat's milk cheese pronounced in French.
We do have these recipes available, and we have them on our registration page. If you didn't get one, perhaps email me tomorrow, and I'll give you my email at the end, and I can send that on to you.
Yeah, there's all the descriptions and methods of how to make it, the recipe, what it's made with, and it'll tell you what to buy. And I gave you the couple variations on there too. So you can use imperial cream cheese or the mix. If you mix imperial and cream cheese, try it 50-50. And then if you want it a little bit sharper, you can put less cream cheese in it next time, and then it'll get sharper and sharper depending on what your kids think. But I've made these for lots of kids, and they love it. I've had kids that are 8 years old ask me for the recipe and book Christmas or birthday parties so that they can have that for their birthday party. It was kind of cute. I have a booking right now for an 8-year-old for next year for cheese treats. Everybody good? So we just wait on the Yorkshire puddings. They should be coming up soon. You can taste test now your beach pebbles. Everybody should have finished them. And now it's snack time. Or a glass of wine. Now's a good time to open a glass of wine. Make you feel fine. I know it's only rock and roll, but you got to eat too. The Stones had, beauty of the Rolling Stones, we had no budget, and you could cook whatever you wanted. We fed them lobster for the whole crew in Moncton, and the Dungeness crab in San Francisco for the entire crew. since we serve so many lobsters in Boston, we bought a lot of crab in San Francisco, except not as many people like the crab, and we only used about 150 out of 450, and we had to throw them out because they were cooked on Friday, shipped to us on Saturday. We fed them on Sunday, and we were off on Monday. It would have been Tuesday before we could give them away. And they'd been sitting in a cooler because they didn't fit in our fridge. There was too many of them, so we had to throw them out. Unfortunately, it was just a crying shame to waste that many crabs. Died for no good reason. But we were able to give away a lot of food in a lot of cities, and had filled up truckfuls of food. And anytime we had extra, we would give it away.
Okay, someone's asking, I believe you are still catering. Yes, actually, Neil has a thriving business. He's so busy right now.
Yeah, we did. I did a lunch today for 75 people in Etobicoke. We're feeding on Saturday 1,200 people for the military, and Sunday is 600 people. Plus, we have other little private parties and weddings, and I got a wedding next week on Wednesday, and it just goes on and on. The whole world is starting to turn. When we feed the army, though, we just make the food. We've been feeding them since the beginning of the pandemic. We fed the military that went into all the healthcare facilities in the beginning, and we had 4 shifts a day, even overnight, for the doctors and nurses that went into all the healthcare facilities to relieve their staff. So we fed the staff that went in, and then that went really well. They gave us a 3-year contract now to feed them, and it was almost on a daily basis all summer. Now it's just down to weekends.
Okay, we have a couple more here. What distance do you travel?
Well, I live in Sutton, so actually I'm on the south shore of Lake Simcoe. I could get to Orillia by boat in 20 minutes. Yeah, just not in the winter.
And how do you charge? Is there a minimum number for you to cater?
I'm doing. I'm in Minden on Saturday for 12 people, but the thing is, you got to pay travel, and you got to pay the labor and the gas, and so there's expenses that come with the travel. So it makes it more expensive for the smaller the amount of people, because the labor is divided by less people than it would be as if you had more. But yeah, I go for 12 people or 20 or 100. We've done 5,000. We do barbecues for 5,000 or 10. I'm doing one for 10 people. Beef tenderloin on Saturday with a Merlot blue cheese sauce with dauphinoise potatoes and sauteed vegetables with fresh dill. We're doing a sabayon for dessert, and a rocket and arugula salad with a limoncello vinaigrette. It's a really nice dinner. That was the kind of stuff we would do at the Rolling Stones. We did Seafood Neptune in Moncton for the Rolling Stones. We had 120 pounds of shelled lobster for the crew. It was almost like 4 or 5 ounces per person we had.
Wow.
Crew.
Someone's asking, are you at a fixed location sometimes in Toronto?
Yes, our kitchen is at Carlaw and Dundas. This is the kitchen here. So this is some of the equipment here. So you can see it's quite large. There's like 10 burners, grills, deep fryers. This is an industrial kitchen with 6,500 square feet. We have tons of equipment here. So it's all racked with all the equipment. 2 ovens there and another oven to the right. But I mean, we have like a whole, look at this. There's a whole parking lot of speed carts. These are called speed carts, and there's we have 15 of them. Each one of them can hold food for almost 500 people.
Someone's asking, Dundas and where?
In Carlaw.
Carlaw. If we want to visit you, what is the name of the establishment?
Oh, it's called Rebel. So I work with these guys, Rebel Catering. This is it here. And that's what I do. So I do a lot of the cooking there, and this is the kitchen I use for doing my stuff. But this is really just, yeah. This is just a catering commissary, so it's not a restaurant. This isn't a restaurant that you can come in, sit down, and have dinner. We literally just send the food out from here. That's why this worked out so good for us during COVID, because we could just cook food and we have drivers and then just drop it off and send it out. The military, we literally just drop them off the food, they take it out of our truck, and away it goes. The small ones are done. So there's my little ones, they're already done. I have a pretty high power convection oven, so they go pretty quick. But I have mine at 4 1/4, so see they get dark quick if the temperature's a bit high. Mine's at 425 and they still get a little bit dark. If you have it at 450, they go even quicker. Really good. Very good. You can leave it there. Okay. So these are the large ones, you can tell it out. There's the large ones. They cook pretty quick too. I have a high power convection oven, so mine went a little bit faster than yours probably would. Isn't that a beauty?
Wow.
They stay a little bit hollow on the inside, so what you do is you fill that with your gravy. If you have any leftover prime rib, you can slice it and put it in these and eat it like a sandwich. Put some horseradish in it, and you have it like an open-faced sandwich. And put some mustard on it and prime rib, and you drizzle a little gravy on it and eat it like a sandwich.
That sounds really good. Someone else is asking if you don't have juice from the beef, is there anything else that you can use?
Yeah, shortening or lard or canola oil, vegetable oil. Any of those work good. I just wouldn't recommend butter because of the low burn temperature. And on the bottom of the pan, these would all get burnt from the butter would burn before they ended up cooking. You need the high temperature to inflate these and to get the eggs to puff up. But yeah, any of those oils are fine. I mean, beef is, I'm just saying, is the best, but they're all fine. Beef just makes it, because if you're eating it with prime rib, then you want the beef, you can use the fat, the lard to make it.
Is there, this is a question I have, is there any difference between the two types of pans, like the metal pan and the, whatever the other one is?
The silicone?
The silicone, is there a better, like one or the other, is it better?
No, I find silicone, it comes out easier. And, you know, if it's stuck, you can pop it. You can push underneath and pop it out without having to scrape or damage the pan. If you put a knife in the other pans, if it gets stuck and you try to scrape it out, it either tears or you scratch the pan, and then it kind of ruins it, and it'll always get stuck. Silicone is great. They don't get stuck. You know, they're easy to clean. Yeah, they're fabulous. I use these. I make dauphinoise potatoes and scalloped potatoes. If you ever have them and you have leftovers, you put them in your silicone muffin tin, fill them up, and then freeze it, and then they freeze like little pucks. Excuse me. And then you put them on a baking sheet on parchment, and you can bake them at a high temp. They get brown on the outside and seal on the outside before the inside cooks, and you have these crispy on the outside scalloped potatoes called dauphinoise. I'm cooking them on Saturday for a party. They're fabulous.
I think I need to invest in the silicone because my Yorkshires get stuck and I'm the person that's digging them out like you just said.
Yeah, well, that's the ever-present danger of it. So the silicones are fabulous, and it's better for your muffins when you make muffins, and you can pop them out and they don't get stuck. And you're going to find you're going to love silicone if you go to silicone. You can get silicone baking sheets, and then for cookies, and you don't need the parchment paper, so they'll cook on silicone and not stick. And it's bendable, so you can peel it away after, and nothing will get stuck on it.
Okay, we have a question. Other than gravy, can one fill these with anything else?
Yeah, I put your caramelized onion, horseradish, and then beef you can just put in. So you don't, because the gravy makes it a little bit messy. So It's you know, you don't always want to do it with gravy, but I love it just with horseradish and beef. Caramelized onion, I put in all the time. That works really well.
And someone else is saying, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge.
Oh, not a problem. Thanks for signing in, you guys. I'm glad I could help. I mean, it was short and sweet. We only did a few things. I tried to keep it pretty simple and keep it on the kid vein, because I'm sure everybody has some kids, and you know, we got to feed them. And I think these few things are a good starting place for kids to learn to start cooking for themselves, and it kind of empowers them when you give them something easy like that they can do easily. They get used to it, and then they move on themselves from that as they start to enjoy other foods.
So I'm just going to put my email address on the chat. If you didn't get the recipes,
Jane can email you any of all the recipes, but you know, maybe another time we'll do it again. I've got lots of stuff, lots of different hors d'oeuvres or soups. Another good thing I should just mention I love to do is when I'm cooking, and if you have room in your freezer, any of the onion, any of the extra stuff to make stocks, save it. You can freeze it when you get enough. Either make a vegetable stock, or if you have a steak or something with a bone, save the bone, roast the bone and all the stuff you froze, defrost it, roast it so you get some color on it, and then just boil it in water and strain it, and then you have like a beef stock or a chicken stock or a vegetable stock. And then you keep that stock and you put it in a little container, a Ziploc or something. I have these deli containers I love to use, and I fill them, and I even at home I have stocks that are homemade stocks ready to go, and you don't have to throw out all those trimmings from your vegetables or your bones. You made stock, homemade stock from them.
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So
then when you have stocks, it's easy to, you have leftover broccoli, you take one of your stocks, you throw the leftover broccoli in it, and you have broccoli soup.
Wow.
Or cauliflower soup, or you throw some red lentils in, or yellow lentils. If you Easter, you have a ham hock, or Thanksgiving, you have a ham hock left over. Get some yellow split peas, save your vegetable stocks from now until then, and make a stock. Put the ham hock in it, and then you get your ham stock from the ham hock, and you make split pea soup.
Someone else is saying, many thanks, most informative and easy.
Yeah, it's easy and a great starting place. That's how I started as a chef. I eventually started saving my allowance and going to buy 1 pound filet mignon and baked potato, because I felt deprived that I didn't get enough filet mignon and only had T-bones. And so that was how I got started in making my own food, because I learned to elevate it.
So you obviously were always interested in doing this.
Yeah, I'm a food lover by nature. And it's all about the food.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's got to be all about the food.
Any other questions? Someone else, thank you, very inspiring. And someone else said, when you mentioned the stocks, yes, let's do the stocks. Any other questions before we say goodnight to Neil? He's a very busy man, so.
Your Yorkshire puddings all turned out, and that your kids are going to enjoy some of these treats that you now know how to make efficiently.
Absolutely. I didn't cook because I had to be in front of the computer, but I'm going to grab those recipes and I'm going to give it a shot on the weekend. Yeah. So thank you so much, Chef Neil. Really appreciate your time, and good luck with all the, I mean, I can't believe you make that many meals for people. Oh, someone's asking if you have a cookbook.
No, I've never done a cookbook, but you know, yeah, I should really. I've got lots of recipes and things I've done over the years. I've got stuff that I did for Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones that they loved, and I should put it into a memoir or a cookbook and share that with everybody.
You should, absolutely. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
I did a risotto for Mick Jagger, and he came up and thanked me personally and said, "I know it's a lot of work." He goes, "I've done it before. Stir and stir and stir." I mean, he didn't do very much cooking, I'm sure, but that's something that he did. He loved rice, and he loved high complex carbohydrates. even to the point where we would, after a show, just bring him a bowl of rice and put it in the limousine with him when he left to have a bowl of rice just to get the carbs, because he burned so many calories while he was on stage.
Wow.
So anytime he was sitting down, we'd give him carbs to eat. He had to be eating if he was sitting because he burned so many calories.
Like having to feed Mick Jagger carbs constantly because he burns so much energy.
Yeah, just running around. He's only 140 pounds, so he didn't have much to lose.
He's 140 pounds, Mick Jagger.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway, thank you very much, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And
Thank you so much, Chef Neil. For those of you who are interested, we're continuing with the How To Festival next week. It will be how to create a mural with your family. And then on October 13th, we have how to artfully mend clothing. And on October 20th, reducing stress with a pendulum. And everybody's saying thank you, Chef Neil. So thank you again. Really appreciate your time. And good night, everybody. Be safe and be well.
good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.